Om. 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 Sahana vavatu. Sahanau bhunaktu. Saha viryam karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Verses 11 to 20. Shuchau deshe pratisthaya sthiramasanamatmanaha natyushchitam nati nicham chailajinakushottaram tatraikagram manah kritva yatachittendriyakriyah उपविश्यासने युञ्जात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारिव्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तः युक्त आसीत मत्परः युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्स्थं स्थामधिगच्छति नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः यदा विनियतं चित्तम् आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निःस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यः युक्त इत्युच्यते तदा यथा दीपो निवातस्थः नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति. Hari Om. Namaskaram to everyone. Tatraikagram manah krutva yatachittendriyakriyah. Tatra, there, having made the mind ekagram, tatraikagram, single pointed, with the functions of the mind and senses control, seated on the seat, let him practice yoga for Atma Shuddhaye, for self purification. Conquer the mind, the senses. Conquering never means you suppress or stifle, is control of the mind and all the various fangs of the mind. I use the word fangs because the mind, where it is not controlled, becomes poisonous. Only when a mind is controlled, it's a blessing or a beautiful entity to embrace with, to be with. Otherwise, the very same mind, when it is not controlled, when the mind is in an unhealthy state, can cause extremely painful. It can be extremely disturbing. It can actually destroy, it can ruin one's life. And you don't have an idea as to how unhealthy the state of mind out there is. The state of mind out there is in an extremely unhealthy state. Extremely means extremely. I just keep constantly hearing from people about how everything so delicately is balanced because of their mental condition. And it's very sad to note that how life's the entire life is shattered because you're not able to keep your mind at your own control. It's not in your control. So the psychological diseases is actually ruining not just your peace, not just your happiness, is actually destroying everything that you come in contact with. Everyone you come in contact with is causing a great damage because of my unhealthy state of mind. I could have some psychological issue. It could be an anxiety. It could be some attachment. It could be some mental hiccup I have, and it ruins an entire relationship. Your whole life is ruined. And I just had a very, I was not happy to hear something which was just shared yesterday, including this morning. I was purview to a very close personal matter of someone's life, and how it all depended on the psychological state of a person. Everything is going so well, so successful, the best of education institutions, the best of exposure, the best that money can buy you. You live in an envious state, as it were, but it's just that simple aspect of not being able to keep your mind in control. The entire pack of cards just buckle. Your whole life buckles. When I say this, it can happen to any one of you. It is happening to your near and dear You are only gloating at your children being well educated, well placed, earning those hundreds and thousands of dollars, and living in luxury villas and driving flashy cars and having expensive holidays and well-educated degrees and certificates and traveling the world in business class. You see all this as the real thing of life, and you take pride in that. And n number of cases I can talk of. Fundamentally, if you have no capacity to keep your mind in control, forget meditation, for God's sake. It's not, you're nowhere near it. Forget it. You're not able to relate to the normalcies of life. And I didn't know how to help that person because helpless. And my only solution is, here's this wisdom which talks about it. The whole world needs to embrace it, because the whole world is suffering. It's just that they don't understand the language we're talking. And I'm struggling to convey this message to people. Please stand up and take note. Because by the time you all realize and wake up, it's too late. I'm not just reacting and responding to the topic or the concept. He's going to constantly talk of it, is to keep your mind under control. And you don't have your own emotions. You don't have your own feelings. You don't have your own mind, your own personality. And the mind has to be under control, because the mind is the engine. It's that which is driving your personality. And if you're not able to steer your vehicle, you will have serious accidents. And you're all facing serious mental accidents of life. And it's happening to the best out there. I'm not talking of the society who are deprived of education and exposure and experience, who have tasted the best in life, show glaring imperfections. In fact, it's what's staggering is the most developed human being showing the most glaring imperfections of life. It's not that you're deprived of opportunities. It's not that you're deprived of what life can offer to you. You have the best and yet glaring imperfections. I can't lend this vision to you. And I'm saying this very clearly. I can't lend this vision. You are not able to see your own near and dear way short of not knowing how to live life. And you gloat at them. You think you have given the best out to them. You can only give what you have. You have not given this ability to keep their mind under control. How many of you have come and told me, this is a revelation to me? I'm learning so much now in life. If you are learning now, how is it possible that you have given it to them? Impossible. Accept areas where you have fallen short. You have not given them how to live life. It is the inevitable fact of life. And the only way you can truly master all what life throws at you is by mastering your own mind. And it applies it even at the final pinnacle of spiritual perfection. He talks of mind control. So keeping your mind under control, your senses under control, you got to get seated. See, the entire spiritual preparation, I'm only narrating an example which actually struck a chord so beautifully with me. So if some of you have heard it, it's a reiteration, but it's something very helpful to understand. And I've set the principle. In spiritual sadhana, the proportion is always very important. The spiritual sadhana is 99% preparation and 1% inspiration. It is 99% preparing the ground for meditation, 99%. And the last 1% is meditation. So 99% preparation is to perform the karma bhakti jnanam, is to, as he says, atma shuddhaye, purify yourself to such an extent there is no impurities of attachments, desires, egocentric desires. None of it exists. You're just pure and immaculate, short of reaching that self. So when you have done that 99% preparation and that 1% inspiration, the mind slips and slides into that beautiful meditative state. An example to convey that is, imagine I have a piston and a cylinder. I'm trying to push the a piston into the cylinder, but it has been left aside, exposed to nature. It's actually got rusted to such a point that there are flakes of rust on the piston inside the cylinder. It's full of rust. And if I try to push the piston into the cylinder, what would happen? Either the piston would break or the cylinder would break. Any amount of effort is not going to be of any success. It's going to be a lot of friction. So what I do, I go through the process of purification. I take a hammer or a strong metal and I start removing all the rust flakes at the piston and the cylinder. Then I take a rough emery paper, I start scrubbing it as hard as I can. The piston and the cylinder, I go to the extreme nooks and corners, I scrape it. Then I take a fine emery paper, again I scrub it. Dust off all the possible dust particles. I take a lubricating agent, I apply outside the piston, inside the cylinder. And thereafter, if I just were to place the piston and cylinder, it just slides into it, isn't it? Effortlessly. The effortless process of the piston sliding into cylinder is that actual state of meditation, where the mind slides and gets lost in that meditative state. There is no effort at all put in. Remember, the moment you're putting in effort, you're not yet there. All spiritual gurus will say, that is the sadhana, put in effort, put in effort. The effort is not to meditate. The effort is to make your mind meditative worthy. That is the 99% sadhana. The moment you say this, you'll not get students. Therefore, they don't say this. They know it doesn't work. It will not work. You got to wake up and start seeing the truth and realities. So it is 99% preparation. We got to understand it. And once your mind is cleansed, once your mind is clear, it's like you're seeing your reflection in the water. The moment you see a reflection in the water, you see it there, you realize it within. You see the reflection there and you realize it within. So the mind is only the medium which enables that, facilitates that realization. So the annihilation of the mind is that which creates realization. And as and when you keep cleansing the mind, the reflection of the self becomes clearer. I repeat, the reflection of yourself in the clear waters. You see it there, you realize it within. So the mind is just the medium. As pure is the mind, so is the reflection that clear. An ultimate reflection of the self is only possible when the mind is annihilated. There's no more the mind. It means as pure a mind, as still a mind. Sometimes, when you're the window of your car, the windshield, if it is very well cleaned, sometimes you don't even know whether it's open or closed, isn't it? You check, hey, is it open or is it closed? It's so clear, it's non-existent. So the mind should be so pure that it becomes non-existent, where the self is experienced. And the state of the mind now is, imagine it's like a pond that is neglected. It has got a thick mantle that has grown all over the lake or the pond. One way of looking at the reflection or looking at the water is crystal clear beneath, but the thick layer of mantle grown all over the sheet of the water. One way of looking at the reflection is, what's that way? Just plunge your hands into the water and push the mantle aside. You see the clear crystal water, isn't it? You can do that. Push the water aside, push the mantle aside, and then you'll see the reflection. But then what will happen? The sheer force of the mantle will slowly start covering it up again. But if you want to see a permanent reflection of yourself in the water, what should you do? Little by little, start taking the mantle out and throwing it off the pond. Take it off the waters, little by little, little by little. Man, you want me to clear the entire pond? No, if you want to have a clear reflection, if you want to have a permanent reflection of yourself in the waters, you will have to remove the mantle little by little. Take that mantle, throw it out. Take the little more and throw it out. A time will come where there's a thin film left on the sheet of water, and that thin film, there's no more viscosity to hold, so it breaks. And when that thin film separates, you have a permanent vision of yourself in the waters, and that is self-realization. So the purification of the pond, of that dirt or the mantle which is covering the layer, is akin to purifying yourself. This is the proportion. 99% is the sadhana, and sadhana boils down to 9. Most of your actions are, if they are selfish and self-centered, you will have to perform actions with the spirit of yajna, with the spirit of service and sacrifice, renouncing your own ego and egocentric expectations. If you embark on this journey, that's when you actually conquer the mind, its worries, its insecurities. The only way of countering your insecurities is to think of something other than yourself. Think of a spirit of yajna, sacrifice. So there, having made the mind single pointed, with the functions of the mind and senses controlled, holding your body, neck and head erect, it's just you sit up straight, still and firm, gazing at the tip of the nose, not looking around. There you go. Nasikagram. So the 12th verse is where we just read, Rajima. The 12th verse is having made the mind pointed, single pointed, one pointed, senses and mind controlled, seated on a seat, let him practice yoga for self-purification. We just said that, and then gazing at the tip. So when you are trying to focus your attention at the bridge of the nose, you're trying to focus here, it's not literally, please. When they say, in fact, elsewhere it said, look in between the two eyebrows. What do it mean when you say, look in between the two eyebrows? Thanks, sir. If it said, in fact, it said you got to look in between the two eyebrows while meditating. What does it mean? You got to look between the eyebrows. Ready, got to try doing it. Huh? What would happen if you keep looking between the two eyebrows for a while?
Pranam Guruji. So while we're looking there, we'll forget the meditation. We'll keep trying there only.
No.
So I've been experiencing that for a couple of years.
Oh, is it? So you've been literally trying to practice that, is it?
Absolutely.
You will get a serious migraine. I will get a serious migraine. Imagine trying to concentrate in between and straining your eyes that way.
There are so many techniques have been understood from the various literature, anything. And when you put it in the practice, I don't think none of them is working, frankly, to admit.
No, but let's examine this. Why do they say, or what do they convey when they say look between the two eyebrows? Is it to be literally to be practiced? Not really.
Creating a one point of focus. because
But
where we
that's
need a
but
focus.
that's going to be,
Yeah.
sir, when you're closing your eyes, how does it matter where you look, sir? Are you closing your eyes or opening your eyes?
Closing the eyes.
So when you're closing the eyes, how can you practice looking in between the two eyebrows or between the tip of the nose or the bridge of the nose? How does it matter? Fundamental question, is it possible while you're closing your eyes?
But it's not a physically, in my understanding, it's mentally you are trying to make a point of that, not that we are visualizing that. In the mind, we are visualizing that our energy or the focus is at the tip of the nose or on the middle of the two eyebrows. That could be the meaning, I understood. But
is
not really physically taking the eyeballs to the center of it. That's not the.
Then you'll have a cock eye, you will have a crooked eye, and see, then you have to go to an ophthalmologist thereafter. You'll have serious eye problem.
They have to go for Seturamanji for similar one, and NGO to operate it from here to the eyes.
Yes. So it is not literally physically doing where you try to focus your eyes between the two eyebrows. So the spot, which is in fact the point where you symbolize it with the tilak, which is the third eye. So in fact, when you're trying to focus in between the two eyebrows, what happens? Your attention turns upwards, isn't it? When you're trying to do that, automatically your attention turns upwards. So when your attention turns upwards, invariably you only look upward. When you look upward to something, even when you use the English language, I look up to you. When I look up, suggesting I have an attitude of devotion and surrender, an attitude of humility. And when you look down on someone, there's an attitude of superiority, an attitude of arrogance and ego, isn't it? So when they suggest, first point, when you look in between the two eyebrows, your head tilts upwards. In fact, the same reason why the word Upanishad conveys, the same principle Upanishad conveys. The very word Upanishad. The word Upanishad constitutes of three words. Upa, Ni, Shad. Upa means near. You sit very near a teacher. Ni means you sit below a teacher. You don't sit on the same level. So a teacher is always put at a higher pedestal. So when you're sitting at the feet, you're literally looking up to the master. You look up. Upa, near, ni, below, shad, sit. Upa, ni, shad. Near, below, sit. Philosophy, literature, or a school of thought. Upa, near, ni, below, shad, sit. Now, what does these three symbolize? Upa, when you're near to a master, you have your receptivity. You're very receptive to what is being said. When you have a long distance conversation like this, I don't know what you all are doing. Those who are not switched on the camera, God knows what you're doing. I don't know. God also doesn't know what you're doing. Those who are switched on the camera, I don't know. Where is your mind? Where you are, what you're doing, I don't know. So God knows. So when you're near a teacher, there's a receptivity. You are well attuned to the thing. When you sit below, you have an attitude of devotion. When you're sitting, you're introverted. So you want to learn the Upanishad, you need to be having your receptacles tuned in, you need to be devoted, you need to be introverted. And these three are essential qualities to learn the Shastras. So the same analogy is brought out in the term Upanishad. So when you look between the two eyebrows, you look upward, an attitude of devotion comes in. Also, when they say between the two eyebrows, They are suggesting you concentrate between the two thoughts. What you're trying to do is, the analogy is only suggestive. What you're actually trying to do is concentrate between the two thoughts. So two eyebrows, each eyebrow suggests each thought. And what is in between the two thoughts? There is silence. So you're trying to capture the silence within. When the mind stops chanting the mantra, you are attuning to that silence. Now, how many of you feel comfortable with silence? How long can you be comfortable with silence? Only a mind which is calm and introverted is comfortable with silence. An agitated mind needs something happening. A restless mind needs something to engage it. And it's very evident when you watch movies. What do you notice when you watch a movie? In fact, especially when you see these movie songs. Gayatri ma, when you movie song pathina, what do you notice ma?
Guruji, first thing, I don't watch many movies at all. Very rarely I watch, but still, when I watch, I feel like a movement very fast, especially songs, very fast movement. That is what is happening.
Old movies, let's say 60s, 50s, 70s, you go back 30, 40 years, you know, there's a distinct change, isn't it?
Yeah, they have been slow and melodious. Now it is fast, aggressive happening.
It is
going faster and faster pace.
Faster and faster. So the olden movies, you see the whole song had only actually perhaps had 1 or 2 frames. The heroine is standing under a tree with the moonlight at the back, and the hero stands at a distance and he's just admiring her beauty and sings a song. And it's just 1 or 2 frames. It's not that the frames are rolling. It's not that there's so much of things happening. So you are able to, and the song also is very melodious, very slow. And so it has a certain rhythm. Nowadays,
extreme fast beats.
Fast beat. You know what I do? What I do when, if at all, I can't sit even for a minute. Yeah. But if at all you are watching, what entertains me is how many times they have changed their costumes.
Okay.
Just count. Just count. Just for that heck of it, just sit one of these modern movies and see. You will find they would have changed minimum 30 to 40 times, they'll change the costumes. And every few seconds, the frame is changed. It's a different location. It's a different backdrop. It's a different thing. It's different that. I said, how? Why are they doing it? Do you understand? Can you rationalize why is it that is happening?
To keep the audience on their hook. Otherwise, the audience will keep changing the channel.
So what is it? What you're right. You're right. Let me get others now. You're right, Gayatri. Very true. What is that? What does it convey? Subramaniamji, what does that convey? Olden movies and current movies.
The current movies, Guruji, conveys the fleeting nature of our mind, always wanting to be, with that so-called moment. In fact, when you told me, I remember an old movie in which those days, the movie is Hamras, a beautiful song. I don't know whether you remember the song. Hey,
please sing, sir.
Huh? Hey, Neele Gagan Ke Tale. It's a beautiful song. Hey, Neele Gagan Ke Tale. It goes like that. Beautiful song. But yes, Rajima, come on. Lovely song. excellent lyrics. Like you said, all that it needed was the sky and the two people under the sky. That's all that. But then in that movie, the Rajkumar changes so many dresses, and there's a question: how many dresses did he change?
Oh, is it? Okay,
There's
I
a
didn't know
question.
that.
Because my school days and all that. So maybe some early part of my childhood when this thing. So they just try to put you through that. They just are not letting you be with nature and enjoy that. Putting you into the mundane things of dress and all this, which some stitch, somebody has stitched and all that. So I think that's how we have been tutored to change our needs, our tastes, ideas, and all that. No wonder we have become very loud now. Very old.
See, it is, you're right, you're very right. In fact, why they do that is because to cater to the demand or the need of the market.
Here,
Even
need was,
music.
Here the demand was created. Maximum time demand is created. Just as we find the Western economy, it's consumer driven. You have no need for it. But they create a demand and then cater to it and then hook you to it.
There's this demand, there's supply, isn't it? So the demand is that the mind is so restless and agitated. To keep the mind at a point, you need so much of sound is loud, picture is loud, everything has to be loud so that it grips you. Yeah, there's guns and bombs and bloodshed and hatred. If it is mellowed down, nobody takes it, because that's why I said earlier, nobody has an idea what is the state of mind. Today, kids only play with guns. They play the games is only destruction and killing. They don't play any game which is soothing to the mind. Have you ever tried walking into one of these game centers in any of these malls?
My God.
You can't stand for a few minutes, and kids spend their, the real technology or the in-thing technology, the country which leads all this. Can any one of you guess which is the country that leads all of this? Vasantam, any idea? The country which leads the games. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to.
Maybe India
No.
or China.
A couple of them have said US. In fact, if I'm not wrong, it is Japan. Japan has got the kind of technology and games. The kids get addicted. There are kids that just go into these playstations and these places, and they, how long they sit close to 24, 48 hours at a stretch. And they have seen people kids have died on the PlayStation. They collapsed playing. Why is this one not moving? It's actually died. It is to that extent people have got addicted. Their mind is so restless. And Japan is the suicide capital of the world.
Yes.
In fact, they have a Japanese term which arises from a Sanskrit word. They call it kodukushi. It's kudkushi, kudkushi as we call. Kodukushi is a disease in Japan, in the Japanese term, and it is called lonely death. So people commit, they feel it's the loneliest nation on planet Earth. The state of mind is alarmingly sad, very, very sad state. So an extroverted mind needs that, but an introverted mind appreciates anything soft, anything, even the colors, the dress you wear, colors, the choice of colors, the choice of food. A sattvic person cannot eat or tolerate spice. I know people, every mouthful, they have to bite a chili with it. The rajas, if you're extremely rajasic, you can't. It's again extroversion. So all these are very clear reflections of what is the state of your mind. So again, it's only trying to, a controlled mind can meditate, can be at peace, can sleep. The thumb rule is an agitated mind cannot sleep. Only when your mind is calm, you will be able to even sleep. All right. So he just started the procedural details. No. We'll move on. Let's chant verse 14, please. Prashantatma vigatabhihi brahmachari vrate sthitaha manah samyamyamatchittaha yukta asita matparaha. Prashantatma vigatabhihi brahmachari vrate sthitaha manah samyamyamatchittaha yukta asita matparaha. Serene-minded, fearless, firm in the vow of Brahmacharya. Again, he says, having controlled the mind, thinking on me, let him sit seeking union with me as the Supreme. I already told you, you will be tired of it, sick and tired of it. But he has to say, because that's the only thing he has got to say. If anybody else is saying other than this, they are not the right gurus. I will go to that extent. A true guru will tell this. If something else is being advocated, marketed, you are not following the scriptural ordinance. You're not following the Shastras. You yourself have become a Shastra. That is arrogance. You can't derail the Shastras. You can't disregard the Shastras. The Shastras are saying this. Serene-minded, fearless, firm in the vow of Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, what is Brahmacharya? Brahmacharya is, even though we can call it celibacy, but Brahmacharya is nothing but control over your senses. And why do you have control over your senses is nothing but a natural appreciation of something higher. And this you will actually start tasting it if you do the sadhana. You will find you have a liking for it, you have an appreciation for it, but you will not be tempted by it. It's no more a temptation. Example, vada pav. Don't forget that. Huh? You all have short memories. Remember, I'm only trying to remind you, vada pav, you will have a taste for it. Slightly, the thought of vada pav, my mouth is already watering. Any more discussion, I'll have to start wiping off, The tissue, wipe. So you must know of it, and then yet it's not a temptation. Why? But it is because of a certain appreciation of higher values. Thinking on me. Machittaha. Yukta asita. Let him sit seeking union with me alone. The quality of any successful person in the context. Can you tell me what is that quality of a successful person? What defines success? Shashikanji, it is not what field. You could be a sportsman, you could be a professional, you could be a spiritual practitioner, doesn't matter. The principle is essential for success. One word, sir.
Within one word.
What word, Podu, sir?
Sorry.
You can say a few more words if you want to.
Success comes as a process, So I would first say that if you are able to look within and you are able to understand within, able to go with the mode of within, I think success is a path in front of us.
Very, very rightfully said. But if I can keep the context in mind. If we all could think along in the context is saying, thinking on me, let him sit seeking union with me as the supreme, as the higher. So what is it talking about? In fact, the Gita, sorry, sir.
When I said within, I think I am just referring to the Aham Brahman sort of a philosophy, right? So the dependency, so when I say that there is a word independent, I always say independent. Independent with whom? Within. So the power is within, and the me is identified within. That is what I mean.
Right. No, you're very right, and I get the context you are speaking, but I'm slightly approaching it from a different perspective. Not that you're wrong. It's not that you're wrong, sir. I repeat, you're not wrong. It's just that I'm trying to clarify a principle which is applicable in all walks of life. In fact, in the 18th chapter of the Gita is actually dealt in great detail. He spells it out. So here is a subtle reference to it. In fact, there's a very famous verse in the Gita. I'll spell it out later, and then you will know what I'm referring to. All right. Appreciate Shashikanji. Anybody else? Rajima, what is that word which talks about, gives out the secret of success?
Equanimous in win or loss, profit or loss.
The verse is not talking of equanimity here. The verse is talking about thinking of me.
Serene-minded, it says, Guruji.
It starts off with that, and then he says, thinking of me, let him sit seeking union with me.
The focus should be one-pointed.
All right. Now, this is what I'm looking at. It's around this. What is that quality which it is not natural, it is cultivated? What is that quality? Okay, a few comments have come by. Shivaji says it's commitment, concentration, willpower, steady-minded, focus, consistency, only thinking about it, single point dedication, shraddha, consistency of action, shraddha, focus, dexterity. In fact, a couple of them have said it. What is that essential ingredient which gives you success is consistency, is the capacity to keep an action going. Consistency. And the verse in the Gita which says, Hariji, remember the verse in the Gita which says that, which talks of consistency? Hari sir, Teriyuma, which verse, sir? A very famous verse.
It's not coming out.
No problem. No problem. Anybody else? Very, very famous verse which talks of it.
Mamekam.
Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhayuktanam yoga kshema vahamya. You will get yoga and kshema. What is yoga? You get the union with the self. You will get what you desire, the fruit of your action. Kshema, you will get peace and happiness with what you have. So you will have contentment and prosperity. How do you get contentment, prosperity? The principle is ananya chinta, the capacity to keep a thought single pointed. So when you are pursuing something, you will have that consistency of purpose. Now, many of us lack this consistency. We are all sincere, we are dedicated, we are devoted, we mean to do good, but we lack the consistency of keep the action going. We all want to exercise, but how many of us do consistent exercise? It's a consistency that we lack. And consistency is a quality which you cultivate. Now, what do you mean by cultivate? It doesn't come naturally, please. Even concentration also doesn't come naturally. You know, the concentration, the ability to concentrate and consistency, they're two different aspects. Concentration is to keep my mind now, in the moment. At 12:20 p.m. Indian Standard Time, when the class is going on, your mind must be here, nowhere else. That's concentration. If you have kept your mind for an hour and 15 minutes throughout, you have consistently concentrated in the class. They're two different things. Now, these two qualities are cultivated, it's not natural. Now, these two qualities are qualities of what? Badrinaji.
The qualities of a focused mind, which knows what needs to be done in the
First
moment.
of all, mind can never be focused. Focused mind, what is the nature of the mind, sir?
It drifts.
It drifts.
Yes.
It is never steady. So how can you say focused mind?
Well, if you're able to, as you mentioned some time back, if you are able to concentrate on what comes between thoughts, okay, then you're focused. See, the thing is distraction. You're training your mind not to be distracted. That is, so the absence of distraction is focus. So whether you're a cricketer who's batting, you can't be distracted while you're batting. You can't think of your mother and father while you're batting. Okay. Similarly, if you're a businessman,
I don't think any cricketer will think of mother and father. He's trying to impress some girl out there. What mother and father? I know you are old, but don't be so old that you miss the point. Huh?
I was trying to be charitable to cricketers. Yeah. So what I meant was, you have to eliminate distraction in whatever task you're doing. If you're a potter and you're making a pot, if you allow yourself to be distracted, the pot will not come out the way you want. So that's what I meant by focus.
Yeah. So, but remember, you can't change the nature of the mind. The mind can never lose its dharma, its nature. What is the dharma of the mind? Fickle-minded. It's fickle. It is restless. It is constantly worrying, anxious. It is attached. This is the nature of the mind.
But Guruji, here, let me tell you from personal experience. When I'm onto something, if I'm doing something, I think only of that. I don't think of anything else. I honestly say that no other thought comes into my mind when I'm doing something. And I don't think I'm exceptional. Okay. I think a lot of people who, are working single-mindedly on something. It could be an assignment given by your boss. It's something that you've taken up upon yourself, or you're a sportsman playing a game. When you're into it, you are able to, at that time, able to shut everything off. Maybe at normal times, you're not able to do it. Okay. Maybe Sachin Tendulkar sitting at home may not be very focused, but when he's batting, when he's facing a fast bowler, he's very focused. At that time, he's able to control the mind, is what I think.
Correct. It is by nature, the mind has its own traits. When you say you're able to keep your focus, it's because it is an external agency that has kept it in its place. The external agency, as people have rightly commented, Hariji and Rajima have said, it is the intellect that controls the mind. So when your intellect controls the mind, then the mind is concentrating. But when the intellect is absent, then it goes helter-skelter. So
Right.
when I say nothing else, just be here, then mind stays here.
Right.
The same mind which is disciplined now, it is not the trait of the mind to be disciplined. It is the intellect that lends its charm.
Yeah, it's like the reins. It's like the reins of a horse.
Correct. It is disciplined. It is external.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, it has to be cultivated, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Therefore, the quality of concentration and consistency. Let me get Hariji Badri sir. Hariji wants to say something. Yes, Hariji. So the quality of concentration and consistency depends on what?
I just wanted to tell, it is not the reins of the horse, it is the charioteer. The reins are the mind. The charioteer is the intellect. So the charioteer has to be firm so that the reins can be controlled.
Correct. That's in the analogy. Yes, it's the charioteer is the intellect, the reins is the mind, the horses are the senses.
Yeah.
So what is it
Your
that
question-
determines? What is it that determines the degree of concentration or consistency?
Shraddha. Shraddha and
Shraddha is consistency. Another word for consistency is Shraddha. My question is, what determines Shraddha? Shraddha is what? A capacity to go to the very end of it, isn't it? To reach the goal. What takes me to the end of the goal is consistency. My question is, what measures your level of consistency or your level of concentration? In fact, your real challenge is, let's say if the class is the most boring class, can you still concentrate? Not when you're enjoying. You're enjoying also, you're not concentrating. You're indulging. Oh, what a nice discussion. Maja. There is no concentration there. The real challenge, a test of concentration is the most boring exercise. Can you concentrate? Can you keep your mind to it? So the strength, correct, Tinkima. What determines the Tinkima, boliye?
Hari Om Guruji. It is the strength of the intellect. See, the battle between the mind and intellect, and we are more used to giving into the mind.
Yes.
You know, we rationalize, we'll find reasons. But at that point, if the intellect can remain strong, then by practice, slowly we learn to control the mind with the intellect.
Correct. So what?
Strengthen.
Yes. So the concentration and consistency is measured by the strength of your intellect. The moment your intellect lacks strength, what will happen? The nature of the mind takes over, the likes and dislikes, the vagaries of the mind, the restlessness of the mind kicks in, and then you're off your focus. So there's a constant conflict between the head and the heart. There's a constant fight between your emotions and reason. You know what to do, what's right to do, and your mind tells you exactly the opposite. Constant conflict. So when he says, keep thinking on me, let him seeking union with me, he's talking about that Ananya Chinta. So the sadhana would be what? We're not there at that place, but what do? We need to have reminders. We need to have tools that keep reminding us of the goal. Isn't it? So the reminders are association of thoughts. So anything that you do, if it associates you with the goal, then the thought of the goal is maintained through the different acts, the varied acts. So everything you do is for realization. So the backdrop is all what I'm doing is for the attainment of the goal. A classic example of that is an ambassador of a country. Reddy Garu, what is the job of an ambassador of a country?
So his role is more about the representing the country where he belongs to, and promote the country's interest in the other country where he's been operating.
Correct. So what is the awareness of the ambassador?
What is the awareness?
Of the ambassador.
So is always the purpose and the upliftment of this country. It's absolute aim is that.
He represents the country, isn't it?
Right.
So everything he does speaks volumes of his nation in a foreign land. So can we not say he's meditating on the country? on the nation. So every act he does has to resonate with, is it in line with my goal? What I speak, how I conduct myself, how I behave, what I do, what I don't do. Everything is weighed only in perspective, in light of the goal. The moment he does even a single act which goes against the interest of the nation, he's sacked. He's in trouble, isn't it?
That's true.
So the Shruti is what that important. The Shruti is, sir, నాకు music రాదు sir, మీకు ఏమైనా music idea ఉందా? But Shruti అంటే ఏం తెలుసా sir? Shruti.
I heard about a movie actor, but not the real.
No, we'll ask Padmini Ma. Padmini Ma, in simple words, please explain what Shruti is.
Pitch based on which you sing. It's the basic pitch, and that your singing should be. It should not go astray. It should not deviate from this pitch which you have chosen to sing. That is Shruti.
So the entire song, the musician has to, not just the musician, all the musicians have to attune to that Shruti, isn't it? That Shruti is the common note. The song starts with it, the song ends with it, isn't it?
No, the scale, it is not like that.
Okay.
There's a scale based on which any music is composed.
Okay.
So, for that scale, there are different notes which is set in a pattern, for which there are a few notes which will not change.
Okay.
That is the Shruti. So if I choose my Shruti as, say, C, I have to base my notes based on that Shruti, which is never changing. That has to be
correct. So the Shruti is a changeless. It's the constant factor, isn't it? So taking the example of the musician to the ambassador, the Shruti of an ambassador is the Shruti of a sportsman is, let's say he's preparing for a tournament. Everything he does is in line to prepare himself, whether how many hours he sleeps, how many hours he practices, what he eats, what he doesn't eat, what practice he has to do, how much time he spends in the gym, how many this, that, everything. How many nuts he eats. Somebody can put a bowl of nuts, you don't swaha it. Because he'll say, oh, I'm God, I've put in so many more calories, I have to burn it. Then awareness is there very clearly. Because if I put on that extra weight and I'm not fit for it, it will not help me in the tournament. So everything in line, the Shruti is, I must prepare for it. He can't go for partying with his friends. He can't entertain different things. So every action reminds him, attunes him to that goal. That is consistency of thought. So what is important is, does actions, so it is consistency of purpose means the goal is consistent in every action that you do, any action that you do. The goal must remind you in every action you do. That is called consistency of purpose. So in effect, every action is taking you to the goal, because you're only doing actions which take you to the goal. You will not do actions which is detrimental to your goal of achievement. So here, this man who is serene-minded, fearless, firm in the vow of Brahmacharya, his mind is controlled. He is only keeping self-realization as the goal. So everything he does is only for realization. Anything that becomes detrimental to his goal, what he'll do, he will say, I'm sorry, I am not available. That is Brahmacharya. Hariji, before I come to you, Tinkima wanted to say something. Are you there, Tinkima? Oh, yes, yes.
So it's okay, Guruji. I was talking about Shruti actually. Shruti is like a
Please.
point. It's like a point on a, with your compass, you make a point. It has no length, breadth, width, nothing. It is a point. So when you sing any note, see, the scale is the 3 octaves we have: the normal, the below the normal, and above. Okay, mandra, madhya, and tar, saptak. Shruti is the point at which a note is sung. So if I sing sa, that sa, however long it is, it must never waver. Then I'm moving away from the Shruti. So Shruti is like swars are the 7 notes that we sing. Sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa. But Shruti is a point like a with your compass, you make a point. We are always taught it has no length, breadth. It's a point is a point. That is a Shruti. Which is why when someone sings just a sa, people do va va, because it is so single pointed that it doesn't waver. It is exactly where it's meant to be, neither higher nor lower nor wavering. That is Shruti. As you say, one pointed focus. That is Shruti. Not the 3 octaves.
Right.
So I
Very
can
interesting.
either pitch can be, I can take it as sa is my pitch. I can also say sa, that becomes my base from which I will operate all other notes, because every note is in relation to the other notes. So I cannot sing and say this is re. No, I have to sing the sa, and in relation to that, all other notes are sung. I thought I should just clarify. Sorry.
No. Very soon we will be offering an exclusive class, an exclusive offering on Shruti by Tinkima. So please register. I will send. I have already sent in my registration. See, Subramaniam ji also raised his hand. Anybody else, please? No. It is so beautiful. I'm genuinely saying, it's an art. It's absolutely an art. So the parallel.
When I was learning classical music, this was dinned into us. So I just had to explain.
No. So sweet of you. I'm glad you did. So sweet. So really appreciate. Yes, Hariji. Hariji is going to explain now the Shruti in cooking. Yes, sir.
Why the term fearless has been brought in? What does he mean by fearless?
எனக்கு பயமா இருக்கு இந்த question கேட்டீங்க நீங்க. You have planted fear in me by asking the word fearless. You caught me off guard, sir. I didn't prepare all that, sir. Enna, sir?
Sir, no,
can we have this conversation outside the class, please?
I can.
Thank you, sir. Any idea what fearlessness means here? Vigata bihi.
I think what is attempted to be conveyed is that this kind of training of oneself in this path is full of challenges. It's not easy. So you have to persevere. You have to have the resilience towards it. So fearlessness means, don't give up because there are challenges. You keep going at it. That's what I think it means.
Okay. Any other? Subramaniam ji?
It just struck me, Guruji, that the greatest fear we have is the fear of losing our ego. Our ego is so strong. We don't want to lose that. Only if we lose the ego, we merge. So perhaps in Vigata Bihi, what he's saying is Be fearless of that. Be ready to lose it. That is when you merge into it. That's what comes to my mind.
Okay. Interesting. Any other thoughts? These are the points which make us think. I'm only trying to facilitate. I'm a facilitator. Rajima, boliye.
Guruji, one is so sure about his path, the journey he has taken on, that nothing can destabilize him. No amount of adversities can destabilize him from attaining his goal. So he has to be fearless when he has to proceed on that path. It can be with so many adversities that can affect him, but he just is so sure about his path. Could that be the reason, Guruji?
Yeah, you're very right. Very right. In fact, if I can draw a parallel, when Lord Narasimha came out of that pillar, the only person who was not afraid in the entire Sabha was Prahalada. Everybody was shivering. They were shivering. They didn't know how to receive what that unexpected Lord. But yet, the tiny little boy, Prahalada, didn't know also, but he was fearless. So just draw a parallel thought and then frame your understanding. Let me hear from a couple of them. Give me just a minute, please. Reddy Garu, yes, sir, please.
So I was just thinking, Guruji, like we think about the worry comes from the past and the fear about the future. Maybe living in the present. So the fearless means that we need to just focus on the present, so that we are just not talking about the future. Could be the one of the meaning and the reason where we consider that.
Not a wrong analysis. Yes, you can say so. You know, so the quality that brings fearlessness is there's no worry of the future. No uncertainties of the future, which comes from the quality you bring into your sadhana. What you bring into your work is that the discipline, that commitment.
At this moment.
Sorry, sir?
At this moment.
At this moment means correct. So just answer the question, keeping the context in mind. What is the state of that practitioner here? His mind is perfectly controlled. His mind is so serene and calm. There is no worry of not gaining the fruit of his efforts. So his mind is so matured. There's no fear of the future. His satisfaction comes in from the uprightness, the steadfastness, the consistency, which he brings into the very sadhana itself. So he's straightforward, he's upright, he's committed, he's consistent. Why will there be any fear? There is no fear of losing. So that is the quality or trademark of a sadhak. So if we bring the traits of being upright, being straightforward, being committed, being disciplined into our work we do, why do we have to be afraid of anyone? Why should we fear of anyone? Isn't it?
That's true.
So these are the qualities which a sadhak has, and perhaps that's the reason there's a fear. There's no fear in him. He's just his action speaks volume. There's nothing to lose, you know, no bhaya, and also there is no selfishness. Absolutely no selfishness, you know. So all these ensure the emotion fear is knocked out. Tinkima, Poliye, please.
Guruji, could it be, they should not be afraid of the unknown, because this is a path which is not known. we are going to give up all that we are comfortable with. It is also a change, but there's, as you have always said, it's a transformation. And whenever we have to change even our viewpoint, we are so reluctant because we are so attached, because our ego rests on what we think and believe and feel. So when all the structures that we have built are suddenly, we know that they're going to crumble and fall, and I'm going to get into an unknown territory. And so that is probably what creates the fear. So when they say fearlessness is, you need to be prepared to let go of everything fearlessly. You're going on that path till wherever you reach, and things are going to drop by the way, and you just have to let go. Just let them be. It's okay, because they're unimportant. It's Maya. It's all right. Till you don't let go of them, you cannot reach that closer to your goal. We won't reach there so fast, but that even next step to go there, we have to keep letting things drop by the way, and we have to be okay with it. So letting go of the attachment is also, causes that fear. The known, the comfort of the known, for the unknown, uncertainty, the change, the transformation. Is this who I'm going to be? Who am I becoming? I don't know. And of course, the path is never straight. If we take 2 steps forward, we will sometimes take 4 steps backward. And then we'll say, where have I reached after so much of struggling? So could that be the fear that he's speaking about?
Yeah, very much, ma. Very much, very much. You're very right. Yeah, true. It's the attachment, and that attachment always refers to the to the present and the past. So there's no bondages. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, Shivaji. I hope we can have a clear voice transmission from your end.
Clear now?
No, sir.
Am I
Sorry.
audible?
No, you're not audible.
Still you have...
Yes.
It's not clear?
No, we can't hear you at all.
Okay.
Very, very sorry. I know you say that you have no issue.
Yeah, I just wanted to share, when you enjoy what you are doing with fear.
I'm afraid, sir, I'll have to actually mute you because we can't hear you. Whose audio is still on?
How is it better?
Oh, in spite of muting him, he's be able to hear him. No, sir. Actually, it is pretty bad. We couldn't actually make sense. Perhaps you can use the chat box to convey. Yeah? So these are all flowery words, but unless until we can bring it down into our life. So we need to live a life of fearlessness now. It's not that you will be at that point of meditation fearless. If I am fearless now, you will be fearless right throughout. So you bring that discipline into your work. There's no insecurity, So very secure in the work you do, in what you bring into your work. That gives you security. Okay. Hari ji, satisfied ji? Okay. Right. Oh, okay, we already passed our time. We'll come back to the text. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.